It's not that monogamy doesn't work, it's that people tend to cling onto monogamy for a false sense of security. When we have been taught programs about marriage, relationships, and family that fundamentally goes against what makes us human and keep us trapped in a divided society where no sustainable communities are being formed and preventing from intentional community building, which would allow us to live free and peaceful on earth. My name is Asha Sekhmet, and I am a wife, Tantra practitioner, oracle, thought leader, and founder of the Maji Community. We practice an indigenous life system to become closer to the Creator without strict religious doctrine. We practice spirituality, tribalism, and sovereignty. So let's break it down in this video, right? Let's break it down. The construct of what we have been taught about monogamy is goes against our human nature. When you think about just one single family unit, that doesn't represent a community, and it is destined to run out. The problem is not monogamy itself, but the programs that we have been given that keep us enslaved towards things that goes against our human nature. So let's just take, for instance, when we think about the breakdown in society, everything points back to a breakdown in family that's preventing us from building intentional community. Why is that? Because we have been programmed to cling on to a false sense of security with monogamy as this predominant relationship structure. And it is very limiting because two people do not support or represent an entire community. In a community, the humans are interdependent on each other and it's sovereign. You trust each other. You are free. You are living with one with nature and God. This is how God designed human beings to actually live. But now you see the gaps. The gap is keeping us divided and keeping these programs because the matrix is not external, it's your own mind because you were giving programs, and these programs go against our human nature, especially when we think about family. So let's just even give an example in this day and time with people who have children, divorce happens, separation, and we continue this each generation, right? It's continuing an enslavement process of your bloodline. We're talking about people truly not understanding what community is really about and not being taught what community is really about, because community is the key to actually free us as human beings. You see, when we think about the construct of monogamy and the programs that's given to people of these Disney like or fantasies of love in the pursuit of our own personal happiness, that goes against community. And now you see why we have all the problems that we have in the society. And it causes human beings a lot of pain because when you start to have children and have relationships in this society, it doesn't match that perfection program of monogamy and security in family that you were given with just two people. It what happens is tragedy happens, divorce, separation of relationships, and you get some dysfunctional form of people coming together because of these relationship dynamics that are just birthed out of people living reality in real time and trying to match that with a false sense of family that was given to them as a program to keep them in pain and to keep them divided and to keep them enslaved and not building sustainable communities. If we truly want world peace, this is where we start. We have to tear this down. Again, this is not about monogamy versus poly. This is about what actually builds true community. And the only relationship styles that do that is poly relationships. So this comes out of indigenous wisdom. I was initiated for 7 years in indigenous culture, in indigenous um, ways of life, in indigenous family practices. And this is what was told to me in my initiations. This is what was taught to me, that the only way you build true community is through poly relationships. There is no other way. And so what happens is some people are just below human standards. They're operating below what human beings are supposed to operate as, animal level and below. So sometimes they have to be taught just how to treat the opposite sex in a very limited way. But those have a lot of lessons in that. And still, that's not a route towards community. That's karma. So if we want to end cycles of entrapped pain, enslavement, and injustice, all the injustice you think you see in the world, it all points back to this, the breakdown in family, because you and me have been taught lies about what a family is. And so when you tear that down and we come into consciousness and we use the wisdom of the ancestors and the wisdom of indigenous people who were truly one with the planet and the creator, then we know for a fact the only way to build community is through poly relationships, to have interconnected social groups where humans are relying on each other, where they trust each other. We trust our neighbors, we trust ourselves. We are one with God, we're peaceful. And in a society like this, perfection doesn't exist. It's just a standard of living and operating the way we were designed to live as human beings. And that's where everything is pushing us towards. Everything is pushing us back towards communal ways. The more you resist, the more you fight, the harder your life becomes. The only constant in this world is change. So when we think about this question that came up to me, it was a sister who asked, well, when you talk about polyamory and you're saying those can be business relationships, co-parenting, and friendship even, why does it have to be called polyamory? Why can't it just be called these different types of relationships? Great question. Let me answer that for you. Because we are living in truth in this new world. We're no longer living in an illusion. An illusion is people saying, "Oh, this is a co-parenting dynamic." And that's all it is. There's no structure. There's no structure or truth behind how to actually build that towards community where it's functional and the human beings are getting along, right? For the children, for the next generations to come, for world peace, where we can coexist together and handle conflict and matters in a loving way rather than a way that comes from lower nature and evilness, quite frankly, if you're just being guided by emotions alone. So to answer this question, this is polyamory because this is how you build towards community. If you just called it these separate things, like, oh, this is just a business relationship and that's all it is, that's not being truthful about your reality. If it is more intimate, right? Because we are human beings, it's denying and ignoring true human nature, which attraction. It doesn't, calling it just that doesn't allow for attraction, right? It doesn't allow for authenticity of living free in a structured way that builds towards community. This is why it's called polyamory and poly relationships, and why the structure and education has to have to be there, because without it, you see all the problems that you see in the world today: scandals, people being hurt, pain, because people don't want to know the truth. Ignorant is bliss, or is it? To me, ignorance is pain, because it gives you a false sense of bliss and then pain comes your way. That's how this reality really works. It's time to wake up. We want to talk about all the spiritual stuff and all the new things without addressing the main thing that contributes to this reality as a human being. The most spiritual thing that you can exist, that the most spiritual part of this reality as a human being in this experience is family and community. That's the most spiritual thing that exists here for you to learn, for you to master lessons. That's it. Everything else is a bonus and a gift from the Most High if you are truly in your righteousness about putting the community first above yourself. So again, I would challenge you as you watch this video to think about the indigenous wisdom that when people follow paths or desire relationships in the pursuit of their own happiness, it is destined to fail. And it is destined to cause that person a lot of pain in life and consequences, because that's a backwards world. You wouldn't live and operate in a community, because one person and two people don't represent a community. Not even just one poly family represents a community. Community is very advanced. If you want to learn more about what a true community is to prepare for the new world, because we are here and the shift is here, don't get left behind. If you want to learn what a true community is and be educated properly on poly, because you don't just jump into this, you have to receive proper education and trainings. And this is what we offer here. This is my purpose with the Maji community. We have a library of courses on our school community called the Maji Community Mystery School. And you can click the link, ashasekhmet.com. And I have courses there as well. You can schedule a spiritual consultation with me to let me know where you are on your journey. If you have any questions about everything that, I discussed in this video. And let's continue to build on, because the shift is here. So like this video, subscribe to my channel. Let me know your thoughts. In our school community, I have courses on poly education. I also have community blueprint course and the proper trainings for the spiritual system in a structure to be able to live out poly relationships ethically and sustainably. All right. So we're building towards sovereignty, and I'm just, I'm ready to go. I'm continuing, to be used by the Most High, and gratitude for my community, each and every one of you, who listen to, my channels and, support the movement. If you want to be a sustaining supporter, you can use my Cash App. That's Asha Sekhmet. You can also, I do PayPal, Asha Sekhmet at proton.me. And always feel free to reach out to me with any inquiry on my website, with any questions. And let's continue to build on. All right, I will see you all in the next video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel.